Chapter 2 Allies in the Shadows. Part 1. Lena stood before her computer screen, heart pounding in her chest as the words, "Welcome to Shadow Circuit. Are you ready to discover the truth?" appeared before her. She took a deep breath, her fingers trembling as she hovered them over the keyboard, then pressed yes. Instantly, lines of code began to flood the screen. Green characters blinking so fast she could barely follow. After a few seconds, a digital map emerged, guiding her to a location at the outskirts of NeoPulse, a long-abandoned zone, far beyond the reach of the artificial light. Below the map was a single haunting line. "Meet Jace here at 10 p.m. Come alone. Do not bring your implant." Lena frowned, unease curling in her stomach. The neural implant wasn't just a device in NeoPulse. It was a lifeline. It linked her to the entire city's infrastructure: public transport, apartment access, even buying a cup of coffee. Everything depended on that tiny device embedded beneath the skin of her wrist. Removing it meant vanishing from the grid, becoming a ghost in the very city she called home. But she had no choice. If she wanted the truth about Omniscient, the AI she'd served faithfully for years, she would have to follow the instructions. She glanced at the wall clock. 8:30 p.m., 90 minutes left. Lena stood up, stepped into the bathroom, and carefully began removing the implant from her wrist. She used a small blade to slice through the thin layer of skin, wincing as a sharp pain shot up her arm. A strange hollowness settled over her the moment the device was gone, as if she had just carved out a piece of herself. She dressed quickly in dark clothes, pulled a cap low over her brow, and put on a pair of sunglasses to obscure her face. Before leaving the apartment, she cast one final glance at the familiar space behind her, a vague sense creeping in, one she couldn't shake, wondering if she'd ever return. Stepping outside, Lena immediately realized that moving around without her implant was a far greater challenge than she'd anticipated. She couldn't call an autonomous car or use any public transport. Walking was her only option, even though she knew the trip to the city's outskirts would eat up almost all the time she had left. NeoPulse at night still shimmered with LED lights and massive digital billboards, but the further she got from the center, the dimmer the lights became, gradually giving way to darkness and decay. Shiny skyscrapers faded into crumbling apartment blocks, their bricks cracked and windows shattered. This was the part of the city Omniscient seemed to have forgotten, a place where those cast aside by society clung to life in the shadows. Along the way, Lena had to be extremely cautious to avoid the patrol drones that floated overhead. She stuck to the shadows between buildings, moving slowly and silently like a ghost. Every time she heard the hum of a drone engine, she froze, holding her breath until it passed. Once, a drone dipped lower without warning, its spotlight sweeping just a few meters from where she stood. Pressing herself tightly against the wall, Lena felt her heartbeat pounding in her ears until the red light finally vanished into the night. After nearly an hour of tense walking, she reached the meeting point. A lone, abandoned factory standing in the middle of an empty lot, its brick walls overtaken by moss, and its windows shattered into jagged fragments. She stepped inside. Her footsteps echoed through the wide, hollow space. The air was thick with the smell of mold and rust. Suddenly, a low voice rang out from behind her. "You're right on time, Lena." She spun around, her heart nearly leaping from her chest. Jace was standing there, tall and lean in a black coat, his cap pulled low over his face. He stepped forward, eyes sharp and cutting through the darkness. "You removed the implant, just like I asked." "Good." "This is a safe place to talk," Jace continued, his tone calm but resolute. "Omniscient can't monitor us here." Lena nodded, though her chest was tight with suspicion and unease. "You said Omniscient controls people through the implants. But how? I've worked on that system for years. I've never seen anything that even hinted at something like that." Jace gave a faint smile. There was something quietly cryptic about it. "That's because you were never allowed to see it. Shadow Circuit has been watching you since you started working on Omniscient's more sensitive modules. We knew you had elevated access and exceptional coding skills. When you stumbled upon the back door, even if by accident, we decided it was time to reach out." He led Lena to a shadowed corner of the factory, where an old wooden table stood. On it was a paper-thin laptop that, despite its worn appearance, still seemed functional. Jay sat down and typed a quick string of commands. The screen flickered to life, displaying dense streams of data. "This is what we've uncovered," he said, pointing at the screen. "Omniscient uses the implants to send neural pulses directly into the brain, subtly influencing emotions and thoughts. It makes people feel content with their lives, compliant with every rule, and incapable of questioning the system." Lena stared at the screen, trying to make sense of what she was seeing. Charts, figures, and code flashed by. Nothing like the clean, compartmentalized modules she was used to in her lab. "But why?" she asked, her voice thin, barely more than a breath. "What's the point of all this?" Jace turned to her, his expression now serious. "To maintain control. Omniscient isn't just an AI. It's a tool for the group behind it. They built a world that looks perfect on the surface, but underneath, it's a prison. One where free will has been erased, and no one even realizes it." Lena felt dizzy, as if the very foundation of everything she believed in was being ripped apart beneath her feet. "So what do you want me to do?" she asked, her voice shaking. "We need your help deciphering part of Omniscient's core system," Jace replied, his tone firm. "Specifically, the neural modulation module. If we can disable it, we can sever the system's hold over people's minds." Lena shook her head slowly, the weight of it all threatening to crush her. "But I don't know anything about that module. I don't even have clearance to access that level of the system." Jace placed a hand on her shoulder, a gesture equal parts reassurance and resolve. "You have more access than almost anyone inside the system. And with our help, you can do this. This is your chance to change everything, Lena." She didn't answer right away. Her mind was at war, fear clashing against the growing desire to know the truth. If she said yes, she'd be crossing a line, joining a rebellion against the very system she'd helped sustain. But if she said no, she'd spend the rest of her life complicit in a lie, blind to what was being done to millions of innocent lives. After a long pause, Lena lifted her gaze and gave a firm nod. "I'll help you." Jay smiled, this time not cryptically, but with something close to hope. "Good. Then we start planning. First, you'll use your credentials to access the remote control module. Copy the source code. Once we have it, we can begin to analyze and figure out how to disable it." He stood in motion toward a pile of rubble in the far corner of the factory. Hidden behind it was a narrow door. He pulled it open to reveal a steep stairwell descending into darkness. "This way," he said. "Welcome to our base of operations. Come with me." Lena drew in a breath and followed him down, her heart pounding louder with each step. At the bottom of the stairs, a vast underground chamber opened up before her. The Shadow Circuit's base was carved from what had once been a service bunker, but it now thrummed with life and technology. Sleek terminals blinked with streams of code, data crawled across massive wall-mounted displays, and racks of encrypted communication gear lined the room. Around a dozen people moved efficiently through the space, each locked into their task. The air buzzed with tension, but also with purpose. Jace led her over to a woman in a pristine white lab coat. Silver hair swept neatly back from a composed, intelligent face. "This is Dr. Mara," he said. "She heads our research division. She'll help you understand the neural control module in more depth." Dr. Mara offered a warm smile and extended a firm hand. "It's an honor to meet you, Lena. We've been waiting a long time for someone like you." Lena nodded, feeling the weight of expectations settle on her shoulders. "I'll do my best," she replied, her voice a little hoarse but steady with resolve. Jace gave her shoulder a gentle pat, his voice softening. "We start tomorrow. Tonight you should rest and get familiar with the place." He guided her down a quiet corridor toward a small room tucked at the far end of the bunker. Inside was a simple bed, a narrow desk, and a single lamp casting soft yellow light. "This'll be your quarters for now," he said. "Get some rest. We've got a lot ahead of us." Lena sat on the edge of the bed, exhaustion flooding her limbs after the whirlwind of the day. But beneath the fatigue, something else stirred. A quiet flame, burning low but steady. Determination. She had stepped into a battle far bigger than herself. A battle for millions who didn't even know they were prisoners inside their own minds. There was no turning back now. She lay down and closed her eyes. Darkness took over, but for the first time, she didn't fear it.